A very warm welcome to IDFC First Bank presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 11. I'm Ritvika Gupta. Tonight we will be deep diving into the world of education to understand how businesses can navigate the ever-evolving landscape of India's educational sector and the potential of the sector moving forward. My first conversation tonight will be with Nitish Jain, Managing Director of SP Jain School of Management, and in the second segment, a peek into the online learning industry with Raghav Gupta, Managing Director, India and APAC, Coursera. Thank you, Mr. Jain, for joining us today on Leaders of Tomorrow.
It's my absolute pleasure.
So to begin with, I'd like to ask you, what are some of the significant challenges that you see in the education sector in India, and what are some of the major reforms that are required, to enhance management education?
The biggest challenge, in one word, is quality. And I think we need to improve our quality on the curriculum, faculty, the infrastructure, the research. Every element of education needs to improve. If you want to be world class, it needs to improve on the quality side. Sure. And that's because the focus has been on keeping the prices of fees as low as possible. But I think we have to recognize that the future is also about quality, to create the right talent the country needs. And in terms of policy, I think if the government changes one policy, it will influence everything else. So many Western countries, they fund their students because they're rich countries, so they can pay for the educational universities and not charge the students or charge less fees.
Right.
But then there are the other countries, like Brazil, for example, that needs the private sector to fund the education sector. And so they privatized it. For-profit universities are permitted. Now in India, they've permitted for-profit in healthcare, but they've not permitted for-profit in the educational sector. If they actually implemented for-profit in the education sector, so much more money will come from the private sector that would fund high-quality education. And the competition amongst them will ensure the prices will be kept at a low level.
Mr. Jain, the education landscape, in India saw the emergence of EdTech, especially over the last couple of years. Tell me, do you see that as competition? And if so, how do you plan to reinvent as an institute?
So the first question is, it's not competition because they don't give a degree. People join a college to get a degree. EdTech is an enabling. It embellishes what we do. It's narrow. It's niche. So it can help in a certain narrow area on developing a certain skill or aiding learning. It cannot compete with a university. It doesn't compete with university anywhere in the world because it's not holistic. It doesn't deliver a full program. Companies that recruit don't look at EdTech. I mean, they would look at a university and the degrees they've got.
So earlier in January, UGC drafted a set of norms, to facilitate the setting up and operation of campuses of foreign higher educational institutions in India. So what's your perspective on India opening its door to foreign universities?
Let's look at this in the perspective of why have they introduced this policy? Or they're thinking of introducing this policy. It is to develop Indian talent. Now, the Modi government is very focused on jobs, on India becoming the next superpower. And you can't do it if you don't have talent in your country.
Sure.
Now, the current universities are unable to deliver the sort of high-quality talent that is really required to take the country forward. So if you get the foreign universities to come to India,
Yeah.
it becomes far more affordable because firstly the fees would be much lower, the living costs are much lower. Today living cost is at least 30% of the total cost.
Yes.
So that would be reduced and it would become more available to the middle class, which today are not able to afford going outside India to study. So it's a very welcome move. I see nothing but good things coming out if they actually go ahead and implement this.
Right. And looking at it from the other lens, tapping into international markets, you set up your first campus in Dubai back in 2004. And right now you have just recently opened up your London campus as well, where you have also received the new degree awarding powers. So tell us more about that. And also, when you go to different markets, different educational markets, what are the criteria, what are the requirements do you see, to cater to the students there?
SP Jain was set up in the year 2004 on a very simple philosophy. As business has gone global, business schools too should be global.
Sure.
Because companies need global talent. It is so often that you will be required to work in a global team or leverage global opportunities. And therefore, we set up 4 campuses in the first 11 years of our existence. From 2004 to 15, 4 campuses, 4 countries.
Okay.
Once we've consolidated our operations in the Asia-Pac region, we thought now we are ready to take on the big, giant educational capitals of the world. London is one of the key education capitals in the world, and the United States is the second educational capital in the world. So we thought we should now set up campuses in these countries and extend the opportunities for our students to move to more countries to enhance their learning.
Sure.
And so you could study, for example, at SP Jain. You can start in Singapore. It's a very nice place to study. And then you can move to London and understand a whole new way of doing business. And then you can come back to, say, Dubai and finally graduate from a Dubai campus. Because each region is different. And because you understand the differences, you really become global. You can't become global living in one country or in one geography. It's impossible.
Right.
And you talked about the new degree awarding powers or NDAPs.
Yeah.
I'm very proud to tell you that SP Jain is the only Indian origin institution ever in the history of India to be granted NDAPs. It's very rare, it's very sought after, because NDAPs allows us to operate in the UK with no partner. SP Jain can offer its own programs, its own curriculum, its own degrees, and that makes it so much more exciting for students who at the end of it look for an SP Jain degree to hang up on their walls.
Absolutely. Well, like I mentioned earlier, our show is also about entrepreneurship, and I want to understand how are you through your courses and programs, promoting entrepreneurship and innovation, and basically that entrepreneurial mindset among your students.
So most people, when they teach entrepreneurship, they start from a business plan. Somebody comes with an idea, and then you refine it and create a business plan to perhaps raise money at the end of it.
Yeah.
Which, according to me, is only 30% of a new venture. There is a 70% that precedes this, and that phase is called ideation. You must have that great idea. You must have that big idea. You must be able to create something that others don't have before you. And I think that is a very big focus in our school. So we have whole workshops based on ideation. We look at the trends, we look at competition, we tell students how to think about new projects. So today we are living in a ChatGPT area. So we have now a lot of classes and a lot of workshops for our students to teach them how they can leverage ChatGPT in different business applications. How do you use it in healthcare? How do you use it in entertainment? How do you use it in any area? So I think it's that ideation that I like to focus on, because being an entrepreneur myself, I know that this is the name of the game. And I feel that we're doing a pretty good job. By the way, I proudly share with you, one of our alums has now become a unicorn. So that is something very, very pleasing to us, that all that we're doing actually is resulting in real big businesses being set up.
And which one is that, if you could share?
Yeah, it's a company called Kogoport. It's a software company in the shipping industry and supply chain.
Cool.
And so it's very pleasing.
Nice. Speaking of ideas, the theme for our season, for our show this season is Ideas for New India. So before I let you go, tell me, according to you, what are some of the big ideas, that are really going to impact the education sector in India going forward?
Well, I'm going to convert it into a global question, because I think of India as it should be connected with the rest of the countries around the world. And I think the big idea is technology, because technology is the big 800-pound gorilla in the room. You have to deal with technology, no matter which industry you are. And education, I think, is one of the last industries to really embrace technology. Yes, we use some technology here and there, but we don't truly embrace it. At SP Jain, every element of our activities needs to be using GPT technology. In fact, if we don't use it, they have to give a paper, why can't I use it? And so I think it's a very big move. I think ChatGPT is really a game changer.
Yeah.
And I think educational institutions need to teach its students, not fight it. Most universities are fighting it.
Right.
But I think you should embrace it and tell students, we will teach you how to use it, because that is, I think, the future. Certainly, that's my view of the future.
Well, it was wonderful chatting with you. Thank you so much for being with us.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
It's time for a